People are trying magic mushrooms for the first time and accidentally meeting God. This is Microdose U. I'm Dr. Dave. Welcome.
Enter the world of magic mushrooms with Microdose U.
Hey there, how are you? Welcome back. Dr. Dave here. Got a great episode for you today about people who are trying magic mushrooms for the very first time. In particular, I'm going to talk about a woman. There's a great story out there. Tried magic mushrooms, first time, met God. And it was not actually he or she or it was not exactly what she envisioned from her previous religion. So we're going to talk about that in just a second. I want to thank you very much if you've taken the time to given this show a review or a rate, even a rating. It just takes a second to give a 5-star rating if you believe that's what it's worth. And I hope you do, because you're with me here. We're together and we're helping each other. Actually, I'm not just helping you, but you're giving me tremendous energy to keep this show going. So please, whether you're listening on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, go on and just give us a rating and a review if you have time. Especially Spotify is, you guys are just killing it there. Spotify seems to be just taking the lead. And YouTube, I don't know, it doesn't matter wherever you're listening to me or watching. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify or any type of audio platform, remember that every single episode now comes out on YouTube as well. The channel's the same, Microdose U on YouTube. And you can actually watch me here in the studio recording and talking to you. So let's get on with today's show. But just real quickly, and just if you want any more information on microdosing magic mushrooms, show notes here always in the show notes give you a lot of good links, some good information on these links, and my website, microdoseu.com. It's spelled exactly the way it sounds. Microdose with the letter U on the end of it, .com. Okay, so I'm going to share an article that was passed on to me by someone just very, very recently. It's actually an article from Rolling Stone magazine, and a young woman who was suffering from depression, and she was in the LDS, the Church of Latter-day Saints. Well, let me just go ahead and share the article with you because it's really, really interesting. And her name is Stephanie. So the first time Stephanie Brinkerhoff tried psilocybin, she was a Mormon mother of 3 and desperate for help. She was struggling with migraines, chronic fatigue, and the antidepressants that she had been on for years. She just felt they really weren't working anymore, or maybe weren't working at all ever. I'm not sure, but they weren't. Bottom line is her life wasn't getting any better from the antidepressants. So after listening to a series of podcasts about psychedelics and learning about the reported mental health benefits, she actually presented her research to her bishop in the Church of LDS, and who didn't dissuade her. He was just kind of like, okay, like, I trust you, said Brinkerhoff, who looks a lot like Sally Draper from Mad Men, all grown up. Now, I don't think I've watched Mad Men, so I don't really know what she looks like, but it doesn't matter. Sally Draper from Mad Men, I don't know. Maybe you know. I just don't know what she looks like, but it doesn't matter. I kind of picture her in my mind, though, and it's probably totally wrong. If this is something that you're approaching for therapeutic reasons, and it feels very spiritual to you, and you prayed about it and whatever, then good luck, said the bishop. Still, Brinkerhoff, who had never so much tasted coffee at the time, was nervous. That's right. In the Church of Latter-day Saints, one of the rules, they've got some pretty strict rules, and one of the rules is you can't drink coffee. I wouldn't last long in LDS because I like coffee in the morning. I like coffee every morning. I only drink a little bit, but I love it in the morning. It just really starts my day really, really well. It was like this really big deal to be like, okay, I'm going to partake of an illegal substance, she recalls. So, very short time ago, she swallowed her first dose of magic mushrooms with an alleged medicine woman she found on the internet. She says, I went in blind because I was expecting the mushrooms to iron out the kinks in my brain and nothing more. Instead, Brinkerhoff says she met God. But whereas the God of her childhood was a remote deity in the sky, that the man in the sky that everybody thinks about when they think about God, she says a parent figure who could protect and punish her. The God she encountered on mushrooms was radically different. The divine felt more embodied and earth based, she says, synonymous, in fact, with life. So she says, it made me realize that everything that organized religion was claiming to give to me wasn't actually coming from the religion. Once that clicked for me, everything fell apart. Within 3 months, Brinkerhoff had left the Church of Latter-day Saints, an organization she now describes as having committed soul theft for robbing her of the intuition and the sovereignty she credits the mushrooms with returning to her. Yet, despite leaving the church, her faith in a higher power has only grown. It's kind of like we're God experiencing itself, she says now. Now, the article is really, really long, goes on and on and on. It kind of goes in different directions, and it actually talks a lot about, because I'm here in Utah, and as you probably know, Utah is the home base or for much of the LDS Church. Now, I'm not LDS. I'm a transplant from the East Coast, but there's a large LDS presence here in Utah, and I'm seeing actually here a lot of a lot of LDS people that are getting involved with psychedelic mushrooms because they're not fulfilled with their religion. And a lot of them are leaving the church. Now, I'm not making any type of a statement on LDS. I'm not LDS. I don't know enough about LDS. This is absolutely not a statement. Good or bad, I don't know. I have no opinion. But suffice it to say, it is a fact, though, that many people in the Mormon religion, LDS, synonymous, are not fulfilled. And if what I understand, there's also a very high rate of depression in Utah, and some people say it's because of LDS, because of Mormonism. I've heard that to be true. There's a huge amount of depression. There's definitely a huge amount of drug abuse. People want to. I guess they just want to feel better. So I'm really glad that Stephanie found magic mushrooms as her way, not only out of a religion that she did not feel fulfilled with, and that was really not giving her the proper direction in her life, but it also took care of her depression, and she is much more spiritual now than ever, feeling a presence of God, but not being able to describe, and that's totally fine. But she freely admits that God is no longer the quote unquote man in the sky that she was taught in her religion. And many religions teach that. Judaism, Christianity, they all worship a God that, somebody could say they worship a God, a man in the sky. And again, I'm not commenting, I'm not for or against that, but as somebody that has been using mushrooms for over 3 years now, I can clearly see without any question in my mind, there's a lot more to it than that. I don't know exactly what it is, but there's a lot more to it. It's much deeper than somebody that is in a typical religion, that we know of, like Judaism, Christianity, maybe Islam. I don't know enough about Islam, really. There's a lot more to it than that. We using psilocybin allows our brain to go much deeper and understand things that I think really that a lot of people that don't use psilocybin will never get to, will never understand. It's hard to explain unless you're actually, unless you've actually used the mushrooms. We can see things now on a different level that I really do believe that a lot of people can't see. And I think that's a good thing, because I think it helps us appreciate every single thing around us and also realize that there's so much that we just will never understand because it's very, very deep. And I've talked about this on other episodes before, as far as quantum physics, understanding like energy and particles. And there's just so much to this life that we're involved with. It goes way beyond our comprehension, way beyond. It's like, you know, we can see colors and we can hear sounds, but we're only able to hear and see and sense things that our bodies are allowed to do. However it came around that we're, what, to make us what we are, we're limited. We're absolutely limited in what we can see and feel and experience. Because suppose there's another, I'll just use this as an example, another color that we just can't see. We can't imagine, we can't see. We have no idea how to describe it, or even describe how we would experience it, because we never have. And same thing with a sound or a smell or anything like that. I'm sure there are things out there that are right in front of us that we can't even experience just because we have limitations on our body. I don't know if most people can fathom that, can even understand that, because I think the average person walking around is kind of like, okay, well, I see everything in front of me. I can experience all this. And no, there's a lot more that we can't even experience, that we just don't know. We can't describe. We can't imagine or conceive of this stuff because we have limitations. Came from the mushrooms. And yes, there is some type of a presence that, again, I can't describe. I don't know, but I definitely feel it more so now after having microdosed and several, larger doses than microdoses over the 3+ years, close to 3.5 years at this point. So I hope you enjoy that. I wanted to share that with you. Just remember that we're a group of people that we're on the forefront. We're experiencing things that the average person is not going to experience, and the way we feel every day, we're forging a path here, Nakama, that most people, we're ahead of most people, because we are experiencing things and feeling things that most people will never feel. And again, the first part of this equation is when you first start microdosing, the main thing you want to do is kind of get out of your depression and anxiety. And that's understandable because that's important. But like Stephanie did when she started microdosing or larger dosing, it wasn't clear what type of dose. And it doesn't really matter. Psilocybin is psilocybin. It doesn't really matter. She got a lot more than she bargained for. Depression is gone. She feels a lot better about her life, but she's experiencing things now with spirituality and God that she never experienced in an organized religion such as LDS, Church of Latter-day Saints. Never experienced that stuff in the church. So I'll leave you with that. It's just a lot to think about, Nakama, a lot to think about. If you're brand new to me, I use the word Nakama a lot. Nakama is a Japanese word meaning kind of like a friend, colleague, member of a group that we're all in together, kind of like a tribe. I feel like we're all together. We are Nakama. We are doing this together. We are seeing results together. Remember, brand new episode every single Wednesday and Friday. Sometimes I do a Monday microdose, which is a shorter episode. Just talk about some announcements that we have things going on here. But remember, check out the website, check out the show notes. I love you, and I really appreciate you being with me. I'm Dr. Dave. This is Microdose U.